Hi. So I am applying for AI consultant. I got recruited, or not recruited, but like recommended, referred from Crossing Hurdles. Um, Looking into that a bit more. So this is a Mercor AI consultant role. My opinion, range is a bit low for AI consulting. Wanting to be like in this day and age of like all data, everything you say, everything you do can be used against you. Number one. Number two, even like interviewing, like especially being captured on video and processed by AI, like it could be like a farming technique just to like get information. Another reason why interviews probably should be paid at this point, because you can still collect information, sometimes even get a job done just from an interview, especially if you're asking very project specific questions or being asked very project specific questions and you're providing examples, templates, sample documents, portfolio information, like all of that is IP that can be turned into really powerful systems. Just the idea, like instantly. So it's definitely something to think about. And, I think like systems and things that we should put in place, policies that we should lobby for as workers, as creators, as publishers, being notified that your material is being used in an AI modeling platform and be compensated for it. Because you're not, and thinking about like what information you put public versus what you put behind a paywall. So this, I submitted an apply and automatically it's asking for an interview. So I'm not, maybe I'll record it. My lighting is janky. I think it's the lighting on the browser, but it's fine. My shirt. My fit is cute. Put it up. What it do? Okay, got me a little slick back. Pimp named Slick Back. Oh, my receipts. I got stuff behind me. So intrusive, right? Alright. Oh, my back. Oh, my goodness. My back hurting today. Alright. I'll have to get an app for like, Okay, and they lied. You said it was 15 minutes. Now it's 25 minutes. The job interview, let's see if I can actually go back. They don't provide information within the screen to... Oh, there's a lot of stuff on here on this platform. Let's apply. Okay, let's go back to messages. I actually wanted to, before I even started the interview, I really just wanted to apply, but I guess it's assuming like, hey, let's go ahead and get it done now. Yeah, it's all about training some AI models. So, like, girl, I need some equity. Okay, project lead, Sumi D. Head of sourcing, dream, believe, engineer. She plays the guitar. quoted in Forbes. Let's see, she's been here 2 years, head of sourcing, human capital. She worked at Wells Fargo. 2 years of consulting experience. I've had several. But it doesn't talk about what, like, what. It's just who. Oh, I probably will add referrals. Especially for, I mean, all of them, honestly. I'll ask them. I can send them all. But I think Brianna and Brittany makes the most sense. Okay. Can I just go back? All right, so I want to start the interview now. I am taking notes, just to let you know too. Hello.
Today we'll work together on a task that's similar to the kind of work we do at Mercor. First, I'll learn a bit about your area of expertise. Based on that discussion, we'll work together to find an example task for a language model. We'll spend the rest of the time talking through how you might judge whether the output is good. Does that sound good?
Yep, sounds fine to me. Can you hear me well?
From your resume, it looks like you have a strong background in strategy, operations, and consulting, particularly within the Salesforce ecosystem. Could you share a bit more about your specific area of expertise? For example, are you focused more on operational innovation, agile coaching, or perhaps something else entirely?
If I had to rank as the top priority, it would be strategic operation innovation. So it depends on the type of company, what their KPIs are, goals. While folks can work and build and innovate many different processes, we make sure that we align that procedure to build the technology, implement, ideate to the actual KPI goals within the organization.
Could you walk me through recent projects where you were able to align a company's operations with their strategic goals?
Yep.
I'm particularly interested in how you identified the key performance indicators and ensured the innovation process supported those objectives.
Yep. So as a consultant, my first steps in vetting any project or process is really ask a lot of questions. So I'm always going to ask that specifically. And depending on the answer will show how aligned leadership is to their management and operations teams. So for a nonprofit that I started supporting last year, they were a bit unclear as to like what the KPI goals were for their operations team and supporting leadership, vision, board priorities. From there, we really narrowed the focus that we needed to build their Salesforce and operation tech house to ensure that they'd be able to increase their overall service delivery up northwards from 25,000 people a year to 250,000 people a year over the next 10 years. So we were able to understand like we really needed technology that was going to scale, but also that the teams had the skill set, leadership, vision to understand how to communicate, design the right projects in order to support that specific goal.
Thank you for sharing that experience. It sounds like a comprehensive process. I'm curious, in cases where leadership and operations teams are misaligned, How do you go about bridging that gap to ensure everyone is moving towards the same KPIs and strategic goals?
So that then becomes the first priority and project, is to look at what was devised for this year from the leadership perspective, from the board, and then determining how can the operation team support that, and then what does the operation team need from leadership and need from the organization itself in order to support that goal. So we really start almost like it's not a top down, but top down and down up approach, where the leadership sets the vision and then the operations teams declare and decree the types of support that they feel would be needed in order to achieve those goals.
That makes sense. It sounds like communication is key here. Could you provide an example of a tool or framework you use to facilitate this communication and ensure both leadership and operations teams are on the same page?
Yeah, so usually depending if I'm working in nonprofit or more private institutions, sometimes nonprofits will use varying, like rapid or I don't know, standard project management planning, so waterfall or quarterly planning, yearly and then quarterly planning. Um, I use the agile framework mostly because it's the easiest to understand, especially between the business and the technology teams. We actually have developed a framework called Agile-ish with my company EBI Labs, and it's a way to kind of translate the agile framework in actual like business terms and thought processes. So that way the technology team is actually able to understand how the organization works, and the organization or non-tech teams get a bit more familiar of how the technology works, because technologies, computing and cloud processes is how data and information gets transferred between and amongst teams. So it's really important that the non-tech teams have a leveling up in how the technology works in order to, operationalize the efficiencies, productivities, and overall hitting and accomplishing the KPI goals. So we use an agile-ish framework, again, that combines agile and business acumen, so that the tech and the business teams can create their tailored processes to drive success.
That sounds like an interesting approach. How do you measure the effectiveness of your Agile-ish framework once it has been implemented? And what kind of feedback do you typically gather from both the tech and business teams?
The measure of success is that the organization itself begins to design their own framework. So they take the Agile-ish as like a sample of understanding, and then they're really crafting and determining what are the parameters, what's the goal for the year, how are we breaking that down into projects and smaller benchmarks or milestones throughout the quarter. And then they start to focus and talk a lot about culture, how they work together as a team, and making sure that they are improving communication, improving knowledge transfer, improving professional development, all as a roundup to actually support the KPI goals itself. So success to me looks like they are defining their own procedures to set, they're adhering to it, and then they're really supporting each other in the professional and implementation of the work. And then, they always have feedback, and we do like a retro where we want to do that at the end of the quarter amongst teams, half of the year as an organization, and then the end of the year as an organization, so that they can reflect and make adjustments and improvements as needed, but that there's that continuous development cycle as an organization.
Thank you for detailing your approach. It sounds like creating a sustainable and self-sufficient process is key to your strategy. How do you handle instances where a team might resist adopting the new framework or process changes?
Yeah, as my duty, usually as a consultant, it's my responsibility to provide the recommendations, to make sure that they have the somewhat of research and proof and evidence as to how this is successful in similar industries, similar organization structures. Um, and if I am working like throughout the year with that organization, it's my duty to remind them of those recommendations. Um, but it's ultimately the decision of the team. The team themselves will sometimes struggle through if they have not set their own precedents and procedures, and then that will be reflective in how much they were, able or not able to achieve close to those KPI benchmarks and milestones. So again, as my duty as a consultant, I'm there to set recommendations and best practices and be a reminder, a tickler for teams. But it's the team's results of, did they actually improve? How was that process? And usually, again, if they have not followed my recommendations or set their own, then it's reflective in frustrations, and missing goals as well.
Let's work on finding a task in your area of expertise. Based on your experience, what is a challenging task or problem in strategic operational innovation that would be unfamiliar to me as an AI interviewer? It could involve something like crafting a custom operational framework for a specific type of organization, or any other complex strategic challenge.
I think the biggest hurdle for an AI interviewer is understanding what's the current projects and some of that IP that the client is hiring for. So a lot of times when we have job descriptions, there are these large frameworks or roles. Rarely during interviews or in job postings does it talk about the specific work that will be supported by this hire. Sometimes teams are unaware of that themselves, of like, we know we have someone in because we are drowning as a team, or we are over capacity, or we have some new investment, and they'll kind of figure it out once the person is hired. I think that what is also an opportunity is to really interview the hiring team to really understand what is their vision and what is the actual duties of work that will be that is hoping to be accomplished and supported over the next 30, 60, 90 days, and aligning person's experience and interest and aptitude to actually achieving and working within that specific project.
That sounds like a complex and insightful task. So, to narrow it down, would you say a challenging task could involve helping a team identify their immediate needs and crafting a specific onboarding plan for a new hire to address a particular strategic goal within the first 3 months?
That would be my recommendation.
Great. Could you walk me through how you might approach crafting such an onboarding plan to align with the team's strategic objectives? And what specific factors you would consider in this process?
Well, I would ask the team, again, if this is an AI third party tool, I would actually ask the team to submit their current annual project plan and goals. Again, this is a little bit hard because this is also IP. So any high level information, or as detailed as they want, smaller businesses or organizations may be willing to forego that IP in order to get the right hire that's going to help them drive that KPI and goals. So I would say, what are the KPI and goals for the team? What's the current implementation plan? And then attach the roles they assume is going to help that effort.
Thank you for explaining how you would approach this. It sounds like understanding and utilizing the organization's current goals and projects is critical in crafting an effective onboarding plan.
Yep.
Are there any specific challenges you often face when trying to get teams to articulate their goals and vision for a new hire's role?
Yeah, they don't have one, or the goals for the year has
I see. So
changed drastically. I'm
sometimes teams
not
may
quite
not
finished
perfectly
yet.
define goals or roles for a new hire. How do
Sorry.
you go about guiding a team to define these goals and roles more clearly when it's not immediately apparent to them?
For me as a consultant, I actually would do a 2-week assessment to have a listening tour, to ask their operations director and their executive leadership, just those two levels, to understand what are the paths for this year. Most organizations have that, so the if they don't, it's a larger red flag that then the team needs to do some more internal work and they're really not ready for hiring. But of course, as an AI tool, you're not going to turn down people from hiring, but that would be a recommendation I'd give to them to really assess, is this the right role for the right need to help achieve the goal?
Thanks for sharing your insights on that process. Now, for the final part of our conversation, let's delve into how you would evaluate outputs. When working with a new hire, what key indicators do you use to assess whether they're successfully integrating into the team and meeting the strategic objectives during their initial period?
30, 60, 90-day plan. If it's me, I would have already created that before starting the hiring process. And so that would also be a part of the interview of seeing how they'd be able to achieve and hit those indicators. And then because we already have the plan, there may be some, updates we may do given who's actually hired. But then we would have a sign off and acknowledgement, and a knowledge transfer to make sure that that person is supported in achieving those goals.
For our last task, let's work together on creating a few rubric items. Imagine you're assessing how well a new hire integrates into their team. Please read the document provided to you about making great rubrics. And when you're ready, suggest 2 or 3 specific rubric items you might use to evaluate this task.
Well, if this rubric really doesn't speak to like how people work in the real in that industry, these are giving very like elementary like examples. So I mean, the one main thing I would rewrite and have a different template based on the actual industry and like real work examples, not like like how like sports and nursery rhymes. So this really wouldn't be that helpful. I mean, in some ways it's helpful because it gives a high level of like, you want to make sure that you have indicated what is well. Even this one, this doesn't really talk about like what's well and what's bad. It just says what is. So I would rewrite this for like industry work related specifics, and then in the rubric itself have an indicating scoring model based on the example of what would be well, and well would be based off of like KPI matrix, like not winning, because like winning in the workplace means that a goal was achieved. And so the rubric would be, again, industry and goal specific, and then a person's answer and how they would achieve that and what skills they would use to support that goal. That would be the scoring method.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts on the rubrics document. I understand that you would approach this by tailoring the rubric to the specific industry and context. Developing metrics that reflect key performance indicators would be key to evaluating success in your domain. We covered a lot today, and it was great hearing about your experience and insights. The interview is now over, so you can leave by pressing the red button.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Bye. Girl, what? Like, yeah, this is terrible. You're not gonna hold you, but like, I don't know if you ain't really like say much. Oh, girl, like what? Like, girl, what? Like, okay, so we're done. Girl, what was that? How's it an interview if it's only you asking me questions and it's really just like a app feedback? Like, you're building this app and you would like some support, like as a consulting advisor, and like, how would we improve this AI app? Like that was, you know, and again, it's still a means that can be leverage, like, and this is all they need. Like, this is all they need. So I'm counting interviews going forward as pro bono work, like, and I need to figure out the tax on that because ain't no way. And I feel like everyone should, like, especially if you have your own LLC that you just use to like conduct contracts for your own professional work, then like you should count interviews as pro bono time because especially in this day and age, you're giving money by giving your data and insights to people, their projects, their jobs, their companies. So yeah, like let's catch a check.